Hello, I'm Gregory Grimes. I'm a programmer for Ashland, and I have the filmmakers and subject of the Road Up. Hello, how you guys doing?
Hi, great to be with you.
Yeah.
How you doing? Good evening.
I just want to start and say, wonderful film, really beautiful, uplifting, and great. And I'm just kind of interested to hear, like, first how you came upon, the CARA program, Jesse, and just kind of like the origin of the film.
So we were introduced to Kara by an acquaintance of ours who had a close relationship with people affiliated with Kara, and she had heard that there was interest in people felt that someone should tell the story about what Kara is doing, and so she said, I know the guys in Chicago who are these documentary filmmakers who would be great for this. So we went to Kara, started exploring the different programs, and it was just one of those things that kind of every step of the way, as we met, the people working at Kara, got to see the programs in action, got to hear some of the stories from the students participating, that we knew this was a story that we wanted to tell, just every step of the way. Very compelling and powerful material.
Yeah. And Jesse, for you, was like kind of this approach, interest in like making a film about Kara? Was it something you like immediately were like, yes, absolutely? Were you like hesitant about it? How was it for you starting?
It was kind of like a double-edged kind of sword. So I've been with Kara going on, it'll be 18 years as a matter of fact next year. And so I've kind of been doing this work all along. And because that classroom is such an intimate type of session and people reveal the most deepest secrets of themselves, it's pretty much kept closed in. We always use this mantra, even when we tell participants to have to create a safe place, is what goes on in this room stays in this room. And so over the years, I've been privy and blessed to go through and witness all of these miracles and go on this journey with all of these amazing individuals. And it just felt so, for lack of a term, it just felt selfish. I just wish more people can actually see behind the scenes of what it is. And again, I know when people on the outside see our organization, CARE, as a workforce development program or organization, that's all they think about is a job attached to it. If you just get someone a job, everything will be great. They can ride off into the sunset and their lives will be amazing. And it's more to it. There are more layers to individuals and their experiences that need to be addressed other than just attaching a paycheck to it. And so over the years, I've always wanted to share that moment again, because it's palpable. You transformation, when a human being changes, you can actually see it, feel it, taste it, and touch it. It's just not something that you can show on a pie chart and a scale and says, oh, look, it went from here to there. It's actually something you can see. And I've always wanted to be able to open up that part of our world to the outside world, so maybe people will be more open to support that type of work and understand what goes into it. And when it was presented about making it into a documentary, I was excited about that part, but then I was leery about the part, would it come across as scripted? Would it take away from some of the real deep, sincere moments that happen? Whether it be um, marketed and put in a way that, for lack of a better word, that was not genuine. I'll just leave it like that. That wasn't genuine. And very early on, I was I was made and felt comfortable with working with or talking to Greg and John and on the preparation and things like that of just how comfortable that I was of kind of putting this. Is like when you take your child to the the child care provider when they're still an infant and it's time to go back to work, and you kind of putting your baby in somebody else's care, and you really feel at ease and knowing that they will take care of them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, the film is very intimate, very personal, and like, I'm curious, like, John and Greg, like how you approach that, you know, because I mean, documentaries can be very exploitative, but also like very insightful, and you know, I think this film is very insightful and like genuine. I'm just curious, like how you approach like kind of touching or capturing those like really personal moments and stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two words that always come to mind are time and trust, because trust is always the coin of the realm with what Jesse does and what we do. That if you don't have that trust with the people that you are working with, the people whose lives, whose stories they're putting in your hands, then it doesn't work. And it's definitely a challenge in this particular case and with this particular population, because their lives are, you know, literally so transient. They are often, you know, in places where they have very little control over where they can be at what time and where. And so it takes a lot of time and a lot of just showing up over and over again to make them believe that you are not in it for some of the infinite other reasons that they might ascribe to it, that are much more, you know, mercenary. So we very early on, we tried to embed with a couple of shelters, and we spent some time there, and we met a couple people that eventually we would end up talking with for the film. And then we went through a whole transformations class just to get the lay of the land. And then we went through we introduced ourselves for the one we would end up filming very early on and said, here's what we were going to do, knowing full well that when you make that announcement, that trust isn't going to be there right from the start. And we kind of had a good sense that things were on the right track about a week in or so, when one of the participants in the class, who was very well respected by everybody else, came up to us and said, hey, we just wanted to let you guys know, we really appreciate that you're here. We appreciate what you're doing and that you're willing to go on this journey with us. And it was sort of like, it was like a permission granted at that point. And things kind of, I think, fell into place from there.
Yeah, you said you went to some shelter. I'm kind of curious how was you came to like choose the people that you followed, and yeah, like was it something that you sought them out, they sought you out?
A couple of the individuals we did meet early on at those shelters. Tamla was at one of the shelters, and she's someone who really just kind of jumped out to us. Her story was really compelling. Also did an amazing job communicating her story. So Tamla is someone who we had, even before the transformations that we were filming, we had started kind of identifying. But then once we were in the class, in transformations, over the course of that month, other individuals did start to kind of pop out and present themselves. Kristen is someone who just kind of engages the whole room when she's speaking. So she definitely stood out, and we knew we wanted to have a male subject. Clarence definitely jumped out as well, and Alisa, and of course Jesse. So yeah, that's it. It kind of grew naturally over the course of spending that month with the class.
Yeah, I want to talk about Clarence's story, because I feel that scene got to me. That was, you know, one of my favorite scenes is, you know, in the end, Jesse and Clarence's story. I'm curious, like, how was it capturing that? And also for you, Jesse, like, has it always been that like tough love sort of like take, you know, is it something that you found like naturally or that you kind of had to learn?
I really don't like the categorize it or label it as tough love. I know we kind of use it a lot, but I just call it for real love. That it's real, and it's not watered down. It's not pretentious or anything like that. And because one of the things is participants or people who are in those type of circumstances, myself included, you can tell when somebody has a hidden agenda, right? You can tell when somebody is sincerely real. And again, I know we've all been in circumstances and situations of, I don't know whether you might have been the popular person when you were in high school or college or things like that, but sometimes people surround themselves with people who tell them what they want to hear, right? And they never really get the truth from anybody. Nobody really tells them the honest to God, the truth. And sometimes in parenting as well, sometimes you don't want to hurt your kids' feelings. Sometimes you don't want them to hate you or not love you or think they don't love you. But again, if you tell them the truth, sometimes, especially when they need to hear the truth, it's not so much of them hearing it, it's how you give it to them and how you receive it. And if it's revealing to themselves, so it's not hearing it as something that's foreign, they're hearing it and they're living it. And actually, as the evidence and everything is so clear on the table that they can receive it. And so I think most of them, instead of just calling it, and again, I don't mind when we labeling it tough love, but I just want to kind of clear up of what it really is. It's just being butt naked, honest with people, really being true to them and honest and telling them what they need to hear, not all the time, what they want to hear. In some cases, in a lot of cases, and I will contend that in the majority of cases, it's refreshing to people, because sometimes people don't always give it to us straight up. I know for me, especially in my professional life, I've had many managers and supervisors, and I've had some that kind of beat around the bush and psychobabble and psychoanalyze you when you meet with them in the office. And the ones I appreciate the most would just tell me straight up, you know what, you screwed up. That wasn't the best thing to do, and just give it to me straight, and I can deal with it from there. I've always appreciated that, and I do my best to kind of read people to see how to approach them and give them that type of attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said you've been with Kara, or going to be with Kara 18 years. Do you find like the work and everything you do, that it's something that came naturally, or is it something that like has kind of taken, some time to kind of get to where you are now?
Almost definitely. Well, that's another double-edged, both of the above. I mean, even if you've watched the documentary, I don't know if this will be given away, but part of what I did before that was I worked for Nabisco. I mean, it's so far away from what I'm doing now. Even though I went to school for criminal justice, I never worked a day in that field or anything else. I drove trucks. I love driving trucks. I drove trucks all through college. I drove trucks when I got there. I just love driving trucks. So most of those kind of the skill sets that I have, the innate skill set, I just got from my dad. I'm just a duplicate or a rendition of my dad. Everybody that I know now who still remembers my dad, and especially my friends growing up, and my mother and sister, everybody, they all kind of reference that, man, you're just like your daddy. And so all of those are kind of these analogies and these stories and these things that I come to are just things that my dad did. It's packaged different in our curriculum, but the messages and the lessons and things that are behind them, they can't come from the same place. I can remember every time, maybe coming from every scene that you can see in there, I can relate to a session with my dad that's sitting me down, whether I came from school and got in trouble or something, and having something that I can connect with. Now, the other kind of professional part about it, of the infrastructure of how the organization works and how you apply it, and the things that are appropriate and things like that, I definitely had to learn. I definitely had to do my due diligence to kind of bring myself up to speed. I didn't even know how to type when I joined Kara. So if you can imagine my skill set in that arena, in that area, in that office environment type of thing, was just very raw and very limited. So most of all of those kind of technical skills and professional skills, I mean, at the very beginning, I worked 12, 13, 16, 17 hours a day for the first 5 or 6 years of becoming an employee at Kara. I mean, I had to put that work in, to gain the respect of my colleagues and things like that. Because again, very early on, I heard whispers and things of people saying, what makes you think that he's going to be able to do this job? He's never done this. He didn't go to school for this and things like that. And my response to, I can go to school and learn what you do. You'll never know or experience the things that I've experienced that I can bring to the table. So I come, I think, with a double-breasted type of skill set that promoted me and elevated me to the stature or the status that I have now.
Yeah. And for Greg and John, for both of you, I'm curious how this film is sort of, talking about journeys and skills and sort of kind of building to where you are now. How, the road up, how this film sort of is departure or continuing with, like your previous films. And yeah, sort of the process of making them and how it was similar or different.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we sort of realized really after the fact is that, in a sense, the three kind of main feature documentaries that we've done turn out to all have a common thread, a theme. And it's certainly not something that we go into consciously thinking about. But when you can step back, you see it's really about the power of community and connection and love. And I suppose every documentary is about community, connection, and love. But in this case, when you look back at the film that we were at Ashland with 10 years ago, Louder Than a Bomb, that was about a lot of the same issues. Just the incredible power that can occur and the change that can occur when people find people who truly care about them and allow them the freedom to be open about whatever it is they need to speak about. And our film, No Small Matter, which is about early childhood education, is very similar in the sense that it's all about the importance of connection and love in the earliest years. So, there are a lot of similarities structurally to Louder Than a Bomb, and also just in how a verite film like this is made. But really, more than anything, it's about those three kind of interrelated themes. And then I think we've also discovered that we really love watching great teachers. We had spectacular teachers in Louder Than a Bomb, and we had the dream preschool teacher in No Small Matter. And I've described Jesse as one of the three greatest teachers I've ever had the privilege to witness teaching in my life. And one of those is Yo-Yo Ma. So he's in very good company there. So just watching the incredible kind of intentionality and command that Jesse has in that room with these 30 people who all have wildly different needs and expectations in any given moment, and challenges that they're coming to the table with, and histories of trauma and all of that, and how he can maintain an incredible precision and control in the classroom in order to accomplish what he does is astonishing to watch. And I think we really appreciate, and that's where I think the love comes in, because when you watch great teaching, you're just watching kind of love in action, basically.
And practically, as verite filmmakers, I think we have come to learn, as Greg was talking about, that combination of time and trust, to have that ability to earn our subjects' trust, but, just, again, putting in the time, building that trust, and allowing ourselves to be there at these moments that are incredibly difficult and poignant and powerful. And the moment that you were talking about with Jesse and Clarence, to be in that room, I was filming that day, was just incredibly powerful. And I think there's no way I could have done that if I hadn't kind of built up these skills, which more than anything was just shutting up and being quiet and just being there. But I think that's definitely something we've also learned along the way.
And we also learn, as Jesse will tell you, about every cohort of transformation, that each new film is an opportunity to make a whole new set of mistakes and screw up in a whole bunch of ways that we haven't screwed up before. So I'm sure there were a lot of those as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the film definitely does have that element of community and like kind of working together and love. And I think what was so touching about it is like, it's almost timeliness of that, you know. I think in this time when coming together as a community and like really emphasizing on loving each other and being there for each other, yeah, it spoke to me, because you talk about, you know, that it's timeliness or kind of place in our like world now, our time now.
I mean, I think that's one of the sort of crazier and wildly unexpected things about this is, you know, when we were filming, it was 2016 to 2018 roughly. And so it was a film, and we understood, you know, we cared about it because we understood the urgency of all of these issues that are happening in the class, and that the class represents this intersection of, you know, kind of the structural and the deeply personal that Jesse sort of manages to bridge. But you never could have expected that while we were finishing the film, between finishing the film and premiering the film, there would suddenly be this combination of a pandemic and you know, the protests in the wake of the George Floyd murder. So a film about the intersection of race and employment and, you know, structural disparities is about as 2020, 2021 as you could get. And there was absolutely no way to prepare for that. So what we've discovered is that now in the wake of it, a film that maybe didn't resonate with people as much because these issues weren't front and center, is now sort of, people are, you know, feeling like, oh my God, that is incredibly timely. And I sort of, on the one hand, you know, really wish it wasn't the case that it was timely. But I'm glad that the film at least is kind of can serve as a place for conversation about some of these issues now that it is suddenly really timely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Jesse, for you, I'm curious, you know, I'm sure you got this question a lot. What is like the status of Kara and like your kind of programs and work in COVID? How has that changed or?
Oh wow, it's humbling. It's been humbling. If you can imagine, even in the documentary, and then seeing the challenges that participants are kind of going through. Me personally, I think it's a good opportunity for our whole organizations, other than people like me who are so close to it, just to see how challenging change can be. We've had to reinvent ourselves. Me personally, I find it very, again, if you can see the intensity in that classroom, it just goes against the very grain of who I am, of having to train and do a workshop on Zoom. It is absolutely, if you can imagine that documentary and to taking some of that curriculum and delivering it to a computer screen, it is absolutely almost impossible. Again, when I say almost impossible, it's maybe just that little bit of a hole that you can squeeze something through that might be moving, touching, and inspiring. It's extremely difficult to do. And again, somebody that has an ego as big as mine and a head as big as mine and everything else, to struggle in that manner after spending so many years of nurturing my skill and working on my craft, to having to almost start at ground zero, to finding other different ways to be able to bring participants in and open up and find out. Again, I say a lot, I cannot help a secret. And the part of the whole idea is getting individuals to expose their deepest secrets, so then we can put them on the table and start finding solutions and things to address. When you're kind of bottled up in this computer world, in this virtual world, it is the perfect disguise, perfect hiding place for secrets. You know, you can do this just like this and say, you know what, I'm having problems with my technology. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Or you can do this and on another term. All of those things happen, and understanding people are, again, I'm a little savvy. I ain't just fall off the turnip truck. I know somebody when somebody trying to screw me and blow some smoke up my butt, and don't have their computer screen on simply because they ain't woke up yet and they ain't got dressed yet, or things like that. So all of those other kind of things is just has been extremely difficult. On the other hand, it's been an opportunity to kind of build on things that we already have. So now when things go back to whatever normal is, we will have another version of something. There'll be maybe some of the workshops that we're doing now are have already been recorded. So we'll have them as teachable moments for the trainers or different other affiliates to be able to watch and to be able to see what's going on. Just like some of the clips that did not make the film, the documentary that Greg and John has provided us. We have these little 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and they're just powerful teaching moments when a subject or a point comes up that we can use and implement there. So there's been those kind of things that we found from having to live in this type of world. But make no mistake about it, it's not just difficult for me. You can just turn on the news right now, and I guarantee you, every city and every state in the United States are talking and struggling about how do we get kids back in the classroom.
Yeah, it really is. It's a time of challenge, but also I think seeing things like this, of seeing people come together and find community and love, will help a lot of the way. I think we're at time. So I just wanted to thank you all again for, the film, your work, and everything you do. It's truly inspiring and amazing. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.